Soweto. Join me on a virtual tour of the largest township in South Africa with a fascinating history and a significant role player in today's South African society. Soweto is an acronym for Southwestern Townships, which was adopted in 1963 by the Johannesburg City Council. People lived in the area, today part of Soweto, since 1904. There were various waves of movement of people into the area of Soweto today, which is now part of the municipality, and it comprises a very large area with approximately 3 million people living in it. It used to be called a township. Today it's a suburb, one of the many suburbs of Johannesburg. The stereotypical view one would have of Soweto, if one hasn't been there, would be the shanty towns and the informal settlements, which are often built on riverbanks, the very wealthy millionaire suburbs where there are golf courses and villas and high-rise buildings of the very wealthy. So Soweto really offers a great cross-section of South African society with a large middle class that has developed in particularly the last 20 years. So when one visits Soweto, it is advisable to go with a guide, somebody who knows their way around and who can take you to the places of interest. I will take you on a soul journey Soweto tour today. As we drive into the suburb of Soweto, we see the Welcome to Soweto sign, which is a common photo icon for people who come to Soweto. And very shortly after that, we pass Baragwanath Hospital, the largest hospital on the African continent and one of the 4 largest hospitals in the world. It was originally built as a military hospital after the Second World War, and today it houses more than 3,600 beds and has more than 6,500 staff members. Opposite the hospital is the largest taxi rank, Bara, which takes people from there to all destinations in and around Johannesburg, but also further destinations into the countryside. Soweto, like all major metropolitan areas in South Africa, experience a great movement of people all year round, particularly during the holidays when people go home to the rural areas. The white minibus taxis are a phenomenon one gets used to on South African roads. When one is here as a visitor, it is something you can't miss. Very shortly after that, we pass the Soweto Towers, the cooling towers of a large electricity plant that was built to generate electricity for the city of Johannesburg using coal. It is not used anymore, and now it is a tourist attraction. You'll see there is a bridge connecting the 2 towers, and it's possible to do a bungee jump from up there. The towers get painted in different icons and different symbols of Soweto regularly, with different companies taking over the advertising. It was Vodacom for quite a while, and then Soweto Gold, a beer brewed in Soweto. Interesting to watch how the towers change color over the years. Kliptown is one of the most famous areas we visit, and the reason being is the Walter Sisulu Freedom Square. This is a monument to the people because in 1955 there was a gathering of around 3,000 people known as the Congress of the People, who adopted the Freedom Charter, which is the precursor to our current constitution. At that time, people collected the ideas of people for freedom and for equal rights in South Africa over many weeks, and then collected them all and put them together in what then became known as the Freedom Charter, which was adopted by the people on that day in Kliptown. They adopted 10 core principles. For example, the people shall govern, all national groups shall have equal rights, and the opening statements of the Freedom Charter is as follows. We, the people of South Africa, declare for all of our country and the world to know that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white, and that no government can justly claim authority unless it is based on the will of all the people. It took another 41 years until these principles were officially adopted in the current constitution on the 8th of May in 1996. The monument of Walter Sisulu Square, Freedom Square, is symbolic in many ways, and the tower that houses the symbolic representation of the Freedom Charter is very beautiful and has fantastic acoustics. There are a few singers who are locals who sing and have fantastic voices. They've also made their own CDs, and it's wonderful to listen to them. And once I had the privilege of accompanying 2 professional opera singers to Soweto, and they sang for us in this very specific building. It brought tears to most of our eyes. Soweto also has the rich and the famous. There is a big mall, Maponya Mall, reminding us of the wealth and the genius of Mr. Maponya, who passed away recently. And he was one of the wealthiest people in Soweto who had the vision to start a shopping mall. It houses world-class shops and restaurants and also a Virgin Active gym. Vilakazi Street is famous for many reasons, one of them being that 2 Peace Nobel Prize laureates lived in one street, and this is Vilakazi Street. These being, of course, Nelson Mandela and Bishop Desmond Tutu. The house of Nelson Mandela has been turned into a museum, which can be visited and viewed, showing the typical houses of the area and also many of the memorabilia of Nelson Mandela in the house. Very close to Vilakazi Street is the Hector Peterson Memorial. This is the memorial to the 1976 student uprising in South Africa, which really changed the history of the country as the world became aware of the oppression that happened in South Africa. And this was because of the famous photograph of Hector Peterson, who had died in that skirmish with the police and the school children, and he is carried by one of the older boys. A very sad day in the history of South Africa, and it is commemorated every year because now we have a national holiday. From here, we move on to Mama Lindy. Mama Lindy is a legend in Soweto. She cooks the best food and is a fantastic host, tells stories of her time in Soweto, and has created her home into a living museum to showcase what the houses looked like in Soweto 50 years ago, and also then invites people to sit down and have a meal while she tells her stories. It's a wonderful way to end the tour in Soweto. Her food is legendary, and she has a group of marimba players that entertain during the visit. On our way out of Soweto, we often pass the very large soccer stadium, which was built for the Soccer World Cup in 2010. At night, it is a sight to behold as the lights light up and it looks like a lantern made out of a pumpkin. So the color of an African calabash, and then with the windows that bring the light out, a very beautiful sight. So that's how we end our tour to Soweto, with the triumph of the Soccer World Cup and what it brought to South Africa and to the world, uniting people through the game of soccer. And this ends our tour to Soweto.